Salutations, industrialists! I'm Mark, a producer on Gilded Destiny. In today's Dev Diary, we will discuss political parties, including enacting policies, leading political parties, holding elections, maximizing party attractiveness, forming governments, adopting policy stances, and making compromises to stay in power. The time period during which Gilded Destiny unfolds is a tumultuous time, where the ways of the elite, backroom politics of the old gave way to the dawn of mass participation. Informal factions of wealthy landowners and business magnates evolved into sprawling, ideologically led parties with mass membership and distinct party platforms. In Gilded Destiny, political parties are not simply an avatar representing a single ideology or political opinion. Parties are dynamic, ever-changing, and appear and disappear over time, representing the schisms and alliances that defined the era. Multiple parties with the same political ideology might appear in the game, each with a slightly different perspective on what that ideology means. For example, free trade versus protectionist conservatives. The overall design goal with political parties is to represent the chaotic, dynamic, and evolutionary nature of politics during this time, where the only constant is change. Before we get into the details about political parties, let's recap how political opinion and ideology work in Gilded Destiny. And as a quick reminder, pops are portions of the population, each with a specific configuration of culture, religion, and profession that is unique to the province in which they're located. In our game, both your leaders and your pops have a political opinion. Political opinions represent the historical ideologies you'd expect to see, such as liberalism, conservatism, socialism, communism, and fascism. This system, combined with the pop's political power, which is derived from your nation's voting policies, their jobs, and social class, determines which political parties will get into power, and how popular or unpopular policies themselves are to the people. How popular or unpopular a policy is determines how much authority it would cost to enact. So when it comes to political parties, we add a new layer on top of this existing framework. Each party has a party leader, chosen from among the leaders with the highest politics skill, and a host of party members. However, which person becomes your country's ruler depends on the style of election you have, which we'll get to in a moment. In Gilded Destiny, political parties like pops or characters also have a political opinion. However, instead of a single conservative or liberal label, a party in Gilded Destiny can have multiple political opinions. This allows us to represent everything from big tent parties that accept a wide range of opinions from across the political spectrum, to centrist coalitions that band together conservatives and liberals to oppose the rise of more ideologically led parties, like communists and fascists. In Gilded Destiny, all parties have a stat called Party Attractiveness. As pops themselves can have multiple political opinions, Party Attractiveness determines how much of a said pop would vote for a specific party. That is, multiple parties might cater to the same political opinion. For example, support for conservative pops would be split between two conservative parties. Which conservative party gets the higher support is determined by their attractiveness. A wide variety of factors can affect party attractiveness. Some are inherent, such as a party's foundation in a specific religion, like a Catholic-based party, or its representation of a particular culture, job type, or social class. Most shifts in attractiveness, however, are driven by dynamic events. Scandals during or after an election, or the performance of the current governing party, can have a huge impact. For instance, a poorly run economy or losing a major war would be disastrous for a governing party when the next election comes around. This brings us to the ultimate goal of any party, getting into power. In Gilded Destiny, elections are a set period that covers both the actual voting and a lead-up phase we call the election season. This is your opportunity to influence the outcome through events and strategic choices, primarily affecting the party attractiveness of a party. As mentioned at the beginning of this Dev Diary, a party's support is determined not only by its attractiveness, but also by the political power of the pops that support it, which we'll call party support. This means that a small, highly influential group like the nobility can disproportionately dictate the fate of the nation until voting franchise improves. In general, the party that garners the most party support will win the election. But you may ask, who runs for election? In Gilded Destiny, each party fields a candidate for the election, but how those candidates are chosen and how the votes are processed depends on the election style you have in your country. In Gilded Destiny, elections come in two main forms, parliamentary and presidential. In a presidential system, the presidential candidate is separate from the party leader. This candidate is the leader with the most diplomacy skill, representing the charismatic, public-facing nature of presidential politics. Their diplomacy skill also skews the votes, so a party can win not just through its party attractiveness, but also through the personal charisma of its candidate. The winner then becomes the president, who serves as both the head of state and government. Unlike in presidential systems, parliamentary elections seen in parliamentary republics and constitutional monarchies have no separate candidate. The party leader is the character who runs for the position of prime minister or its equivalent. Party leaders are determined by the characters with the highest political skill, which represents their ability to make deals and navigate the political arena. The politics skill does not skew votes in this case. For parliamentary elections, it's less about the individual and more about the party as a whole. Parliamentary elections also introduce a unique and exciting element we've developed for Gilded Destiny: coalition governments. If a party cannot secure a majority share, that is 51% of the votes, it must seek to create a coalition with other like-minded parties. This is based on a new stat called party compatibility, which compares the policy stances of each party. Coalitions can vary wildly in size. A multitude of smaller parties might band together against a larger bloc, or a large party just short of a majority might have to compromise with a smaller one to get into power. In a coalition, the prime minister is the party leader of the party with the most party support, as in the amount of people voting for said party with their political power in mind within the coalition. So, what happens when a party comes into power? The main way a governing party affects things is through policies. As we discussed, enacting policies in Gilded Destiny costs authority, with the cost becoming cheaper or more expensive depending on the direct support of your pops and their political opinions. The new political party system adds another layer to this. A governing party's policy stances will apply an additional bonus or malus to the enactment cost of policies. This means that a party coming into power doesn't instantly change a country's laws. It must work through the system to change things over time. And this is where the system truly shines, allowing for historical nuance. For example, in the UK during this period, the Peelite conservatives famously supported free trade, despite the mainline conservative opinion being protectionist. A Peelite-led government would receive a bonus to push through free trade policies, helping them enact laws that might otherwise be prohibitively expensive to pass, giving us a different brand of conservatism. And what about coalitions, you might ask? Forming a coalition government means parties must compromise on their policy stances. If, for instance, the Peelites and mainline conservatives formed a coalition to avert a liberal victory, their differing stances on trade policy, one support and the other oppose, would clash. The coalition government would be forced to be neutral on the matter, meaning there would be no additional modifier to affect the enactment cost of that specific policy. This forces players to make difficult choices about who they ally with and what they are willing to sacrifice to gain power. Political parties is still a young system, and was not part of the original design of the game. However, we noticed there was a lot of interest in having political parties in our community. There is still many more possibilities we intend to explore with political parties. For example, what happens to previous cabinet members when a new party comes into power? There may be incentives to keep talented members of the opposition in your ministry, or perhaps risk of their disloyalty is too high, leading a new party to bring in a wholly new set of people to fill the great positions of government. All of us at Aquila can't wait to see the chaotic, dynamic, political landscapes that all of you will forge with this new system. Well, that's all for today, and we'll see you in the next Dev Diary. We hope you've enjoyed it, and as always, if you have any questions or comments, don't hold your horses and trot down to the comment section below. Lastly, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you have not done so already, add Gilded Destiny to your Steam wishlist. Until our paths converge once more, we bid thee farewell. May your destiny be a gilded one.